Hi, I'm Kelly and I'm back here with Karen, and we're here to answer your grief questions. Make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all of our latest videos. We release new ones every Wednesday and Saturday. So we're in that holiday season, Karen, and we're continuing to talk about that because it can be such a difficult time for people who are grieving. And so today's question comes from someone who said, how do you handle the holidays when they also signify the time of year that your significant loss or other losses have occurred?
Yeah, so you and I were talking about this a little bit before, and I think it's almost surprised me at times throughout my years of doing this, how often this is the case. That, we talk about the holidays, it's hard for everybody, but we also know that anniversaries, of loss are very difficult. And for some people, they coincide and they're happening at the same time. And I think that adds a whole different layer to it where people just feel very, very overwhelmed, and it can be the loss. I mean, that the question is asking about the anniversary, but I've had people where maybe their wedding anniversary falls around the same time, their birthday, their loved one's birthday, or maybe it was the time around the diagnosis or the time where they spent significant amount of time in the hospital, or, that was kind of like the beginning of the end sort of thing. I mean, there's so many different ways that that can happen, and again, it's not that uncommon. So in terms of trying to cope with that, I think it's, definitely a matter of recognizing that, you're going through a very difficult time, and that that's going to be amplified, by everything going on around you. One thing I know is that leading up to the anniversary for people, that first year is all about the first, and all the different triggers. And here's all, the first time I have to do this and the first time I have to do this. But that time leading up to the anniversary of the loss becomes all about the last, and this is the
Yeah.
last time we talked to them, and this is the last time everything was okay, or this is the last time I was able to see them. And it's like our memory gets really, really good for that. And I think probably the holidays also intensifies that because being out in your grocery store, and seeing the decorations or the food and the things that they put out, or just around town, the lights being up, you remember, like, this is what I saw this time last year, this was the temperature of the air, like, all of those things that you were very passively aware of the year before are now right there and are creating even more triggers for you. So it's not even that the advice is different in terms of how to get through the holidays versus how to get through the anniversary of a loss. And in those cases, we talk about, being gentle and kind with yourself. We've talked about mindfulness. I think having a plan is really important, to think about how specifically you want to get through this day. Am I going to be taking off of work? Do I want to be around other people? Do I want to be on my own? All those sorts of things, that's going to stay the same. But I think when we're talking about this kind of double shot of grief, it just means we have to double down on the self care and
Mhm.
on the things that we're not going to take on. And like, this is not the year to be maybe hosting or running around and buying unique and special gifts for everybody, or, committing yourself to a bunch of different commitments. Like, you may just have to really bring it down to the simple and basic so that you can try and survive it. So yeah, Kelly, you were saying you hear this a lot, right, with people?
Yes, it's amazing how many of my clients,
Yeah,
they have multiple things and it's just like boom, 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 boom. It's just exhausting because
yeah,
it's just so back and again, it comes back to taking it a day at a time, right? And I agree with having a plan. I'm a big believer that on anniversaries or death anniversaries, whatever you want to call them, really having a plan for that day. What does that look like? And being realistic about that.
mm,
I had somebody I recently worked with, and the things that they wanted to accomplish that day, they wanted to go to everywhere that she loved, everywhere, all in one day. And I was like, that sounds really tiring. And I think they maybe got to half of them. But, maybe it's making a ritual. I'm a big believer in rituals. I think they're really important and an important part of our grief experience and making that space and that time. And so maybe it's doing some sort of ritual. It could be as simple as lighting a candle and, putting their picture out. It could be something more elaborate where, maybe you get together with a group of people and you do the, what are those things called that you light up in the
Oh,
air?
the lanterns?
The lanterns, which
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
are illegal in most states, but people still do them.
Yep.
I know they're illegal in here in New York, and I hear them being going up all the time, but, doing something like that. Back in the day when I worked at hospice, we used to do balloon releases. Now I know that's a little
Yeah.
not necessarily encouraged, but, just finding something like that, connecting with people that share that loss with you, or maybe it's something that you wanna do by yourself that day, and you just have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
And so having a plan for that, and then also having a plan for the holidays, like, and just knowing that, like, I can just have to take it day by day, and you will get through it. Will it be hard? Absolutely. But you will. And it's just about, again, that self-care, making sure you're taking breaks from your grief as well, and trying to find some things to do that you enjoy.
Mhm. Absolutely. I find, again, kind of going back even a little bit separate from the holidays, but, you know, trying to honor that day of loss. I think
Mhm.
people put a lot of pressure on themselves. I have done this in my own personal losses. Like, I'm trying to think, okay, what can I do? And you find yourself not even purposefully, but like you're trying to find the thing that was so important to them. Like, I just want to find something that speaks to who they were and what they meant to me. And, something that just kind of fits their personality and that can show the magnitude of my love and how much I miss them and how deep my grief is. And it's like, what is that? Like, how does that,
Puts
like,
a
what
lot
could,
of pressure on yourself.
yes, like, what could be that thing? I mean, is there really anything that could really honor and signify the depth of the love or the depth of the grief? Really, there's probably not. So the smaller things I think actually end up being more significant than we would realize if we allow it. Lighting a candle, taking those moments can be really lovely. And what I say to people too is that, those days, yes, are going to be about that person, but they also need to be about you having to be here trying to get through it. So
Absolutely.
don't think this 24 hours has to be spent, constantly trying to figure out like what's important. Like, even if you end up with like an hour of some sort of like remembrance, and then the rest of the day is you on the couch, like
Yep.
watching
Yep.
Netflix and ordering takeout, like
Yep.
that's okay. That's okay. It's about you having to get through it.
All right. So to summarize, Karen, would you answer? How do you handle the holidays when they also signify the time of the year that your significant loss occurred?
Well, I think like most things, we're just, trying to start with validating like this is hard. It's all hard, but that's a real double whammy. And if you're feeling it, it's justified, because those are a lot of things. So making sure that you are making a plan, being mindful of how much you are committing yourself to, what else that you may be taking on, recognizing the weight of the approaching anniversary of the loss, and then coupled with the holidays, and how it may just need to look very different, right now, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Karen. And
Thanks,
thank you
Kelly.
all for watching. And stay tuned. We're going to continue to be talking about the holidays because we know it's a difficult time and we want to make sure you have some tools and know that you're not alone during this time. But so stay tuned. Our new videos come out every Wednesday and Saturday. Take care.